or political passion. Members of PEN should at all times use what influence they have in favor of good understanding and mutual respect between nations and people. They pledge themselves to do their utmost to dispel all hatreds and to champion the ideal of one humanity living in peace and equality in one world. You are welcome to join PEN Zambia. It doesn't matter which part of the country you are. All you have to do is send us a WhatsApp on 0968056784. 0968056784. You can join PEN Zambia and be part of a group that is enjoying literature and all forms of expression around the country. Today, we're discussing ghostwriting. Now, ghostwriting is a common practice in publishing, and many books are written with the help of ghostwriters. However, the extent of their contribution may vary, and not all ghostwriters are acknowledged publicly. And now, I have the pleasure to introduce one of Zambia's leading ghostwriters. You may have heard his voice on this program previously, not as a ghostwriter, but as the authentic writer of a book called Cyber Attack. Manson Mutumba is our guest today. Manson, welcome to the Writer's Circle.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's a great pleasure to be with you. Of course, we're talking about ghostwriters, and somebody must be hearing this for the first time. They're thinking, what exactly is ghostwriting? Let's start it from there.
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah, so ghostwriting is an agreement between an individual or a company who hires someone to write content, which can be in form of an article or a book, on their behalf. And then after the writing is done, the individual or the company owns the content and their name goes on it.
So to simplify it, would I be right to say I might have a story about myself, or maybe my company if I'm a business person, or it could be, if I'm a politician, I might want to write about my political journey, but then I don't have the time. I might not even know how to put a book together. So I come to you as a ghostwriter and tell you my story.
Yeah.
Then you put the whole book together.
Yes.
But then you don't put your name there. It comes out as though it's me who wrote that story, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Yeah.
And how big is this industry, let's say globally, the industry of ghostwriting?
So ghostwriting, which is synonymous to content writing, freelancing and all that, is according to a report that I saw on the internet, it's $412 billion. It's a $412 billion industry. So in size compared to the Zambian economy, it's about 16 times more than the Zambian economy. So it's a very important aspect of the services sector.
And that means if we depended on ghostwriters to feed Zambia, they could actually feed us for 16 years, would have to do nothing at all, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
$416 billion, that's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, let's now begin to look at, is ghostwriting the same everywhere, or maybe it differs according to regions?
It's different, just like every other sector in each economy is different. Like in some parts, ghostwriting is more developed than in others. For example, in the US alone, the ghostwriting industry is about $40 billion, and whereas compared here to Zambia, we don't even have any data on the ghostwriting industry, if it exists at all. So in North America, it's very, very developed, and there are all these professionals who have created brands around their practices, and they are either too busy and too committed with other activities, so they hire ghostwriters to actually develop their ideas and write content that they then publish on their social media pages and on their websites to their clients and to their readers.
And so, when you look at the whole term of ghostwriter, that means the ghostwriter must not in any way disclose to anyone that they wrote a story or a book on behalf of a person or on behalf of an organization. Is that correct?
Yes. So basically, that's the agreement, hence the word ghostwriter. So the ghostwriter is meant to stay in the shadows. So the contract will outline the terms of disclosure. Maybe the terms of disclosure can allow the ghostwriter to contact the individuals, publishers, and so on, and not their customers, or actually bringing the agreement onto the public forums.
So while the ghostwriter is actually not acknowledged in a work that they've written on behalf of a person, the ghostwriter can still go public as tell people that they're ghostwriters, but they cannot in any way say they wrote a book on behalf of somebody. What I'm saying is, for example, as a ghostwriter yourself, yes, you've written so many books and publications on behalf of other people, yeah, so you cannot tell us who these people are, no, but you can still promote yourself as a ghostwriter.
Yes, yes. So I'm restricted in giving titles of books that I've written, names of individuals that I've written for. Yeah, I'm restricted as per contract agreements that I signed with the clients.
Right. I'd like us to look at some of the most popular ghost-written books, and I think I'm going to look at 3 that are worldwide bestsellers and acknowledged. So we have the autobiography of Malcolm X, which was written in 1965, written by Alex Haley, based on Malcolm X's life story and experiences. Then there's The Diary of a Young Girl, written in 1947. Otto Frank, Anne Frank's father, edited and compiled her diary, but some parts were written by ghostwriters. And then, of course, Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal, written in 1987, written by Tony Schwartz, who was credited as co-author but later revealed he was the primary ghostwriter. Now, this is an interesting one. So we're talking about The Art of the Deal, written in 1987 by Tony Schwartz. So later on, he came out and said, I was actually the ghostwriter. Are there circumstances like that when a ghostwriter can come out and say, I'm the one who actually wrote the book? Isn't that breaking a contractual agreement?
Yes, it's actually breaking a contractual agreement, and there are legal consequences that will actually that the ghostwriter will face. And among them, other than legal consequences, other consequences would be, a professional integrity. Their reputation will also be destroyed, and so on. So it's very important that the ghostwriter honors the agreement, and only if the client decides that the ghostwriter should actually go out there and tell the people that they actually wrote the book, then that's when they can do so.
Right. Now, as a ghostwriter, let's say I bring my story to you. At that point, maybe we agree that you're going to pay me 50,000 kwacha. Of course, at that point, it's a bit painful to have to get that money to give to you, and it looks like a lot of money. But then my book might go on to make millions, not of kwacha, but millions of dollars. Are there times as a ghostwriter you could probably go back to your client and say, you know what, at the time I was writing this book, I never quite thought it would make this kind of money, but now it's made so much money. Are there circumstances like that? Are there things like that maybe in the contract?
The contract is binding, so in the sense of agreed amounts, prices that are paid to the ghostwriter, the terms of agreement maybe that prevents or restricts the ghostwriter from telling other people about the arrangement. So when the book becomes very successful, becomes a bestseller, unfortunately the ghostwriter is not at liberty to approach the client and start demanding for extra payment because it turned out to be a bestseller.
Now, so the whole name of ghostwriter is a little bit shady and stuff, It's a little bit like there's something strange, some kind of darkness that shrouds the whole contract. But clearly it's not a very secretive thing, right? It's something that can be resolved in court if there's a dispute. Is it a contract that is so binding that no other person should be able to have a look at it?
So the contract can actually be referenced in court when a dispute arises. Like for example, builders, when they build a home, they may actually charge the homeowner a certain amount, and then the homeowner can go on to sell that house at whatever price that they want to. So the builder does not go back to the homeowner and ask for extra payment. So that is the same situation with the ghostwriting agreement as well. So in the only way that a ghostwriter can actually be able to claim extra benefits or anything is if the client decides to add extra, maybe deviates from the agreement. Maybe the agreement can be for a 200-page book and the client decides that they want it to be a 500-page book, so that can obviously require the client to actually change the agreement in terms of payments and all that.
And now, when you're writing as a ghostwriter, so let's say you're writing my story, how much information would you require from me? Is it something that I can give you in just one sitting and then you probably go and imagine what else you want to write about there? How much time do you really need to spend with somebody as a ghostwriter?
So, communication is very important, and clarity of what the client expects from the ghostwriter is also very important. So as a ghostwriter, when somebody approaches me and they have an idea of a book that they want written, first of all, books are structured differently. So based on how books are structured, I would check if the client has any preference in terms of how we structure the book, if it's going to be in sections, chapters, and so on. And then if that is agreed upon, their target audience, obviously that has to be understood. Yes, who is the client targeting? Because books are written they may primarily be written for the general audience, but there's always a specific target. So it could be maybe the younger people, it could be the working class, and so on. So having that understanding of what the client wants out of the book enables the ghostwriter to kind of like get a sense of how to put the material together and thereby deliver according to their expectations. There's always a process. There's always a process that goes on. So there are some reviews that have to be met. So after the material is written, the client will go through the content and then they'll review And then if they need any changes, obviously that is outlined in the agreement. It could be maybe 2 reviews or 3 reviews. After the third review and everything is finalized or approved, then the contract is sealed. Yeah.
This is the Writer's Circle. We're discussing ghostwriting. If you have something to say regarding this topic, please feel free to send us a WhatsApp message on 0968056784. 0968056784. We're discussing ghostwriting. Now, many celebrity memoirs, such as those by politicians, athletes, or musicians, business books like leadership guides or self-help books written by ghostwriters for CEOs or thought leaders, fiction books like novels or thrillers written by ghostwriters for authors who want to publish under their own name have become quite ubiquitous. Now, let's think about Zambian politicians, for example. We get very few of them writing their stories. Is it time that politicians began to approach ghostwriters to have their books written?
Yes, I believe that politicians can benefit a lot from ghostwriting services, in the sense that a lot of the comments and a lot of the things that they say are not well understood, but a book presents an opportunity for their thoughts to be well developed and well broken down, so that the message is clear and is not manipulated by other competitors, by certain propaganda systems and all that. So politicians, I believe, have a perfect opportunity to gain credibility, especially with what they say, because when it's captured in a book and it's referenced to facts, then they will be able to maximize on credibility and all that. Yeah.
Now, I'd like to look at, you talked about the contract between the ghostwriter and the person whose story is written about. I know one very famous footballer. I think after the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations, I think the footballer produced a book, and I remember that I went to the book launch. The footballer got so excited that in his speech he actually said, "Ine naelanda coffee," and then "Oyu ewalembele book." In other words, he got so excited, he ended up telling us who wrote the book. Could that be a breach of the contract?
The footballer, I met him at the awards ceremony. He actually introduced his ghostwriter, and that was very moving. So yes, it's not a breach of contract if the client decides to tell everybody who wrote their book. But maybe the ghostwriter may not be comfortable being named as the person that created the content. For example, if maybe I'm writing a book for a very controversial politician who's targeted by all sorts of individuals, and then I don't want to be named as the person that wrote their book in the interest of safety and all that, maybe I may decline. I may ask them not to actually name me as their ghostwriter. But in most cases, it's a very joyful moment when the client actually tells everybody who their ghostwriter is, and the ghostwriters are always very happy when that happens.
We'll be returning to that, but then as a ghostwriter, when did your journey start? I mean, always been a ghostwriter, or when did you discover the existence of ghostwriting?
The first time I actually heard of the word ghostwriter was when I was doing some research on an author. I read a book of his, and it was very well written. So I went on to do the research, and then I came across this article that it was actually written by his ghostwriter. So I went on and dug more information and found out that it was a contract, that basically what we are actually talking about right now. So fast forward, after developing my writing, publishing books and all that, I realized that I could earn a living through writing. So I started reaching out to individuals that I could develop their ideas into books, and that's how my journey started until some 2 years ago. I started meeting international clients through North American ghostwriting platforms. So that's kind of like how my journey started.
And what are these platforms like? I mean, is it some kind of an association where there are people whose works want to be written, or is it a group where ghostwriters who probably don't even know each other come together, and so they're soliciting for manuscripts or they're soliciting for stories? What is it like?
It's like a market. So basically, people that want ghostwriters to write their books publish ideas on those platforms, and then ghost writers reach out to them with a pitch on how they will write the book, how they will meet their needs in terms of the content that they'll create for them.
Do ghost writers actually know each other? Or are they like the real ghosts out there? They just know that they write books. So do they come together as ghost writers?
Because of technology, everything is done digitally right now. There's very little interactions among ghostwriters, but there are some platforms that actually hire ghostwriters, and they put them on the salary to actually write content for individuals and for companies on their behalf. So the companies that the individuals or the communities that actually hire the ghostwriters sort of like become third party or middlemen between the ghostwriters and the customers.
Now, in a country like Zambia, there's something about religion being their main thing. So if you went to, let's say, a Christian organization or a church and said, I'm a ghostwriter, how do you think they'll look at you? I mean, it's a little bit like showing up and said, our team is called Nkana Red Devils, In England, there's a team called Manchester United, the Red Devils, no name change.
Yeah.
But here, it was said there's no way a team can actually be called Nkana Red Devils. They removed the Red Devils. Do you think that you could actually walk in a church and say, I'm a ghostwriter, I'm here to write books? How would they look at you?
So because our industry is not very developed in terms of ghostwriting services, I think it would be taken with some level of scrutiny. People would be very suspicious, because the word itself in there, ghost, they would think that, okay, so ghostwriter, so what, you're writing about ghosts, so what?
Oh, you're a shady individual.
Yeah, something like that. So other terms that people use nowadays, they'll say copywriter, content writer, content creator. At least that is a little bit more politically correct term. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about your work in particular. Where do your clients come from? I know you've talked about the fact that there's a platform that they find you in. Tell us maybe some characteristics of some of the clients that you've been writing for in the last, let's say, 1 year or so.
Most of my clients are North American, and they are professionals, in different areas, business, sports, health, like psychology, physical health and fitness, and so on. So most of these professionals have businesses that they run, and they also have websites, and they have social media pages which they need to actually grow their following, to also increase their brand and all that. So these people, they reach out to me, to other ghostwriters as well, to write articles maybe about products that that their businesses are selling, maybe even books as well. So as a ghostwriter, I have to make sure that I capture their profession while meeting their need in reaching their ideal customers as well. So it's striking that balance in creating the content in a way that exemplifies their professionalism, but also breaks down complex information, maybe about economics, real estate, in a layman's term that can be very well digested by ideal readers out there.
And so how do you get to communicate? Is it by phone, by email? And how much time do you spend together with those that you're writing for as a ghostwriter?
So the mode of communication is through digital platforms, emails. Anyway, these are custom digital platforms, not the commercial ones like Gmail or anything like that. So there are custom platforms. I'll mention, for example, a platform like Fiverr. There's also a platform called freelancer.com. So it has a messaging aspect of it, where communication during the writing and after the writing happens between the ghostwriter and the client.
And you never get to meet physically. Has it ever happened that maybe you've been out of the country and you know that you wrote a book for somebody in North America, and so maybe you are somewhere in Mexico, you're somewhere in the US, and you say to yourself, oh, since I'm around the US, let me give a call to the person that I wrote a book for, and you probably have a drink, you have a coffee or something like that. Or once you've written the book, that's the end.
According to it depends with the contract agreement. Certain contracts are very strict. After the work is done, communication can only be initiated through a professional setup. Like I can't just pick up a call and call them and ask to meet for a drink or a coffee like that. Maybe the communication can be initiated based on the work that I produced and what kind of changes, maybe value that I would like to bring to the book and so on. So it's a very strict arrangement that seeks to protect the client, the ghostwriter as well.
This is the Writer's Circle. We've been discussing ghostwriting with Zambia's leading ghostwriter, Manson Mutumba, and you've just listened to part 1 of the production on ghostwriting. We'd like to come to the end of this edition of the Writer's Circle, but there's going to be part 2, which is coming very soon. Manson, I'd like to thank you most sincerely for coming to the Writer's Circle.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, if you'd like to know more about ghostwriting, send us a WhatsApp message on 0968056784. My name is Daniel Sikazwe. I pray and hope that you have a great writing week. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next edition of this production on ghostwriting on the Writer's Circle. Have a great day.